Hello, my name is Susan Strain. I live in Rockland, Maine. I am protesting this piece of legislation because of my own personal experience. In the early 1970s, I had just returned from the Peace Corps in Turkey. I was living in New York City. I became pregnant. It was illegal at the time. Without telling you how, there were arrangements made, and I flew to Puerto Rico all by myself, had an abortion, flew right back the same day. I had to use all my tuition money that I was going to use to go to the new school, and I had to start all over again to save that money. It isn't right. It just isn't right. People and women need to have the freedom to determine their lives without an accident or an unplanned pregnancy ruining it for them.
I'm Shelley Kushner. I live in Rockland, Maine. I want to protest LG 975. Abortion is health care. Health care for women should never be refused, made criminal. That's inexcusable in a civilized society. I have 4 kids, 1 daughter, 4 granddaughters, and there's a whole future out here of people that are depending on all of us to speak up. Thank you.
I'm Cheryl Dashow. I live at 41 Rockledge Road in Sprucehead, and I am here to object to the proposed legislation, which would significantly impact women all over the state. I spent 6 years on the board of directors at Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast in Houston, Texas, and I want to tell you that it has been a terrible result, the result on women who have been dying because they have not been able to access care. Plus, many of these women are low income. They don't have the resources to travel, to come to places like Maine, where they can access care and have abortions. And I just think that if you want to see the worst outcome of a bill like this, you need to, and this is LD 975, you need to make sure that this bill does not pass. Thank you.
My name is Jane Schroeder. I live here in Rockland, Maine, and I'm here to protest LD 975. I am very much against it. A long time ago, before I had my children, I had a miscarriage and had to go to the hospital for a D&C, which today would be considered an abortion. And I keep learning about women who are in this predicament, and doctors won't do the D&C to make sure that they're healthy again. So that's just one reason why I do not want LD 975 to pass. This is for the health of women and babies, and I hope you understand that. Thank you.
I'm Emily Jenks. I live in Thomaston, Maine, and I support abortion rights and a woman's right to choose. I had an abortion, and I had 2 young children. I was married, and we did not want a 3rd child. I specifically did not want a 3rd child. My youngest was 4 years old. I did not want to go back to everything that a pregnancy, delivery, having babies entails. My marriage was on the rocks. I didn't want to go through all that in my marriage again. And so I made the decision. I went up to Bangor to the Mabel Wadsworth Center, which is a great women's care center. They're still there. And I took care of that, and my husband was there to support me, and I've never looked back. I've never regretted it. That's just life. That's the way it happens. We can make these decisions and should be able to make these decisions for ourselves. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natalia Ayala, and I live in Rockland, Maine. I'm here to speak about a bill that's been brought before the Maine Legislature, HB 635, which criminalizes abortion and states that a fetus is a human being at conception. Both of these are inherently anti-women and ultimately anti-children. If you look at the state of Texas, which has already passed these types of laws, the death rates of women, pregnant women, have gone up at least 50%. In Georgia, they stopped recording how much damage has been done to pregnant women because of these type of abortion laws. The real fact is, one, do you believe women are human beings? Do you believe that women have the same rights over their bodies that men do, or do you not? Because it's not about life. If it was, you would be taking care of the babies that already exist in this state, as opposed to trying to go after women. Not to mention, medically speaking, pregnancy is very, very complicated. The only decisions that should be made about any pregnancy should be between the woman affected and their doctor. The United States, even before Roe versus Wade was overturned, had the worst maternal and infant mortality rates of the entire so-called developed world, and they're plummeting even more. You have no idea how the U.S., as far as I can tell, legislature has no idea how women's bodies work, and they have no place in any of their medical decisions. Not to mention, women have just a right over their own bodies. Unless you're passing similar legislation over men's bodies, then this is just inherently a misogynist law. And I'm sorry, a bundle of cells is not a human being. They can't survive outside. And anyone who's having a late-term abortion is because of a medical reason. No other. Nobody does that. Don't spout that nonsense. Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Kathy Marion Gallant. I'm from Waldoboro, Maine. And I just want to say that abortion should be between a woman and her doctor, and that criminalizing it is not going to stop abortion, it's just going to make it less safe.
Hi, my name is Shlomit Osceola. I live in Thomaston, Maine, in Knox County. I'm 72 years old. When I was a young woman, I made a mistake. I did unprotected sex, and I found myself pregnant. And the person who had been saying he would marry me told me if I had that child, he would not marry me. I made the wrong choice, but it was my choice to make. I don't think abortion's a good thing, but for some people it's necessary. And no law should be based on the morality of one subset of the American people. This is a nation of laws and freedom. Don't mess with this, please.
My name is Nancy Davis. I live in Owl's Head. I'm here to protest LD 975. I am against this bill. I have to tell just a quick little bit about my history. When I had 2 young children as a single mom, the youngest was 2, I found myself pregnant by some man that I had no intention of being with. And so I had my first abortion. This is 50 years ago. Then later, 10 years later, I had another child with my now husband. And within months after having this son, I was pregnant again, and I knew that it was too much. I couldn't possibly do it. I had the choice, thank God, because when I was my first daughter, who is now 57, thank God she's here, but she's only here because I could not get an abortion at that time. And so I just have to say this choice is necessary for every young woman, and the fact that we would try to take it away is just abominable. So,
thank you.
Sure.
Linda Campbell Marshall, Hope, Maine. When Adolf Hitler took command of Germany, the first thing he did was find a vulnerable minority to attack. It is interesting that the American oligarchs have taken the majority minority, women, to begin their assault, and then they have moved on to others, homosexuals, and other persons, the poor, who are who are vulnerable. It seems to me as though we should take a page from Germany's book and know that the attack on women's rights is the first attack on the vulnerable in our country. This bill is a firm attack on women's rights here in the state of Maine. We must not pass it.
My name is Penny Dunning. I'm from Rockport, Maine. I'm against the bill, LD 975. I'm 82, and in my 20s I had 2 abortions because I was not fit for caring for a child. I was just trying to get my work life underway. It freed me up in order to adopt my daughter as a single woman about 25 years later, and she is a beautiful person, and I was able to afford to give her proper parenting and proper support and economic life and education. And I'm glad to speak about this. Do what you can, don't let it happen.
My name is Carol Heyer. I live in Waldoboro, Maine, and I oppose this LD 635. Is that the name?
Yes.
Because I feel that a woman's choice to do what she wants, and it's between her and her medical person, and it should not be left to the legislature to decide.
My name is James Cook. I live in Camden, Maine, and I am testifying against HB 635 because I believe, even though I do not have a womb, that everybody who does have a womb has the right to decide what to do with it, since it is part of their body. And so I oppose the passage of HB 635, and I believe that the people who are trying to control other people's lives through force of government should be ashamed of themselves.
My name is Nancy Hoos. I live in Union, Maine. I'm speaking about LD 975. I had an abortion in 1974. I was single with 1 child, living on state aid. It was a choice that I did not want to make, and it was a choice that I had to make. And I would probably make that choice again, and I want everybody to have that choice. This is very hard for me to say. It is a secret that I keep, but I believe that we all need a choice. Thank you.
Mary Ellen Nanock, Cushing, Maine. My entire opinion on abortion is that it is entirely up to the woman who is pregnant and who needs or wants an abortion. It's no one else's choice.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Midikowski of Rockland, and I oppose HB 635 because it practically takes away the right of a woman's body away from the woman herself and gives it to the state. And a woman should have its determination to decide what is best for her body and what's best for her reproduction and all that. And especially after what's going on in Texas, where women are practically disenfranchised over laws like this. Like I said, Maine is a progressive state, and I don't want Maine to go along the same ways as the red state. So that's why I oppose 635. Thank you.
My name is Pam Moss. I live in Owl's Head, and I am in opposition to HB 635 because although I am never comfortable with abortion at any place along the way, I am far less comfortable making a decision for someone else.
My name is Mary Jo Bateman, and I'm from Rockport, Maine. I wanted to express my objection to LD 975. When it comes to abortion or pregnancy loss, politicians in Washington, D.C. and state capitals can't know what every woman and her family is going through. They're going to hurt real people going through complicated issues with their one-size-fits-all restrictions. Abortion later in pregnancy is extremely rare and almost always because something in the pregnancy has gone wrong. I know that it's not a politician's role to play doctor. We can't possibly say what would be safe or medically appropriate for every pregnant woman in an emergency. I cannot support a one-size-fits-all policy that would hurt women and families. Thank you.
I am Strange. I live in Thomaston. I'm 87 years old. No one has a right to tell another person what they can or can't do with their body. This is not legal. It is nothing to do with government. It's to do with power.
Okay, my name is Erin Darnell. I'm from Rockland, Maine. I am against LD 975. Abortion access is women's health care. It should be available to everyone who needs that kind of care. It is not anybody's right to tell women or other people what they can and cannot do with their body. It's just disgusting what we're seeing happening in our country right now.
I am Susan McNeil Densmore, living in Camden, Maine, and I am against LD 975 for personal reasons. I began being a mother at over the age of 40, so that conceiving and pregnancy was going to be questionable, and at one point had a diagnosis of a mosaicism of trisomy 20, which no one knew much about, and which would have meant that I would have had a deformed, disabled, there were bridges in the brain and organs in the wrong place, whatever. And so my husband and I were both on the same page and decided to abort. We already had a small child, and I have worked in special ed all my life, so I knew that at over the age of 40, we did not want to be trying to raise a disabled child, and whether the child would have lived or not, we don't know. Some doctors said there was an 80% chance, but we're not gamblers, and we did not want to take the risk. So I had an abortion, and I believe any woman, couple, family should have the choice to have an abortion if it is needed and recommended, or if they're not able to parent a child who may not survive. So.
My name is Maureen Hayning. I am from Rockport, Maine, and I am here to speak against LD 975. Abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. These are the words I have heard through the years and should be the mantra by which we continue to provide the best maternal health care to all women in this country. Criminalizing abortion care is an assault on the rights and freedom of women to decide how best to live their lives with full control of their own destiny. It also deprives women of life-saving medical procedures should complications with their pregnancy arise. This bill is not about protecting life, but about controlling women's lives. Maine voters have consistently supported reproductive rights and should continue to do so. This bill should be voted down.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Noel Joskoke, and I live in Friendship, Maine, and I wanted to testify against LD 975. I myself personally have unfortunately lost a pregnancy, miscarriage. I'm alarmed by the requirements in this bill. I think they're very, very strict, and a lot of people are going to end up possibly arrested or imprisoned because they don't have all their documents and everything. And I also know for a fact that a lot of people end up needing an abortion later in the pregnancy because of their own health crises or fetal non-viability. And I think that this bill is not the right way to go. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Lockwood, also known as Kiki, and I live in Rockport, Maine, and I am very opposed to LD 975. I believe that, my body, my choice. People need to keep their hands off other people's bodies and reproductive choices. I have family, friends, and relatives who have had abortions in the past, and it's their decision to do that, and they need to continue to be able to have that choice. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Kara Potter. I live in Washington, Maine. Our zip code 04574, and I'm talking to you today because I want you to know that I really support people's right to choose and to have an abortion if that's the right choice for them. I really feel like abortion is healthcare. We've seen in Texas and other states where women are dying because abortion has been restricted, and I don't want to see that happen in Maine. we have a lot of rights here in Maine. We support gun laws, we support abortion rights, we support trans, and everyone's rights here. And I think that needs to stay because we all feel equal here. And I love that about Maine. I think that's important to keep. And I hope you'll vote against this legislation and keep abortion legal in Maine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm Denise Munger from Rockport, Maine, and abortion rights are reproductive health care rights for women. The state cannot and must not outlaw or criminalize abortion in this state. We have always protected the rights of our people, and we must protect the rights of women, which includes abortion health care. Thank you.
My name is Sydney Hall. I'm from Camden, Maine, and while I know that abortion is a very difficult decision, I think to criminalize it, to ban it, is to take it out of the hand of the people who need to make that decision. That's what I have to say.
George Baggett, Union, Maine. I believe that abortion is the right of everybody. I've got one daughter. I'd have 2 or 3 if it wasn't for abortion, and that's a good thing. So I'm against that bill.
I'm Henry Laszlo from Lincolnville, Maine, and I believe women should have the right to choose. That's all I gotta say.
I am Mary Padilla of Rockland, and to criminalize women to have abortions would be inconceivable for the woman and for the families. It is necessary health care.
My name is Eliza Bailey. I live in Appleton, Maine, and I would like to speak vehemently against LD 975. The reason is, when I was in my early 30s, I needed an abortion for a Down syndrome child that I was carrying. And my husband and I were not in the position, according to our feelings at the time, to raise a child with such a grave disability. There was a lot less known about Down syndrome then. There was kind of a stigma against it. Days were different, but I had the right to choose, and I was thankful for it. And I believe others should have the same opportunity. Thank you.
Mary Fairfield, Camden. I am appalled that we have to continue to fight for our reproductive rights as women in this country and in this state. I have a daughter. I'm deeply concerned for her, for all young women, and I am so hopeful that this will not become legislation. Thank you.
Patty Lucchetti, Rockland, Maine. My remarks are very short. However, I simply want to remind everyone that no one wants to have an abortion. There are often economic factors that make it impossible, the wisdom to see when it is the right time to take on that huge responsibility. It is in fact the case that our social service network is severely limited and broken. No one wants to have an abortion. Thank you.
I'm Catherine D'Amato-Rosian from Owl's Head, and I have a very short message. A woman's body is her own. It's not against the law to take care of oneself as one wishes.